With 6ix9ine's trial finally coming to a close in December of this year, it's confirmed that 6ix9ine has been in on it the whole time. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
But to get off almost like he's getting off like he's the police. Like he is the police.
Do you want to win any of these items on the screen? If so, be sure to watch the whole video, leave a like, and comment the hidden message. And with that being said, let's get right back into the video. How a sentencing date sets the wheel in motion.
He received a reduced sentence for his cooperation. His sentencing was moved up and is now set for December 2019.
The reason that many people are considering this as a possibility is because of the confirmed date of 6ix9ine's sentencing. Why should that matter? Simple. It was supposed to be in January of 2020, and now it's going to be December 18th, 2019, which means it'll be 13 months to the day from when he was arrested. Everything throughout the trial has begun going in 6ix9ine's way. Not to mention there are those who are saying that not only will 6ix9ine get out of jail shortly after a sentencing hearing, but that he has, surprisingly enough, gotten a $10 million deal lined up with his former label 10K Records, which would be a massive jump into not just his value, but basically anything that's been going on in his career up to this point. This is a very bold decision from the label because they don't have anything assuming that 6ix9ine will live long enough for them to make a return, but that's another subject completely on its own. What does that have to do with him working with the FBI? Simple. How could that deal have gotten in place so quickly unless the label knew that he would be out soon?
Rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine reportedly signed a $10 million deal with his former label 10K Projects.
And who would have told him that? 6ix9ine. Because he heard it from the FBI via the deal that they cut. And you don't just get $10 million deals. There has to be something going on there. Not that the rap community cares, or more accurately, not that they think this is something they should care about. Upon hearing about the 10K Records deal that is now confirmed from the sources but is being spread around like wildfire currently, many rappers have come out and blasted the label for doing this because it reeks of being dirty.
Finna get up out of here. He finna go get up out of jail, $10 million rich.
Not just from the moral standpoint, but from the code of the street standpoint. And why would 6ix9ine even potentially sign that deal unless he knew that he was about to get out? Exactly, he wouldn't, because he would look foolish as a result, which ties into the thing we've been teasing. 6ix9ine isn't just a snitch, he's been working with the FBI the whole time. So who's up for some more compelling evidence? Who doesn't love evidence?
Stop trying to jump up on the internet and say who is and who ain't. Because how do you know?
I'll get to all the reasons why 6ix9ine would willingly and happily betray his former group, the 9 Trey Bloods, shortly. But let's look at this from the group that truly helped take down the 9 Treys, the FBI. One of the biggest reasons that the arrest of 6ix9ine was broadcasted all over was because it wasn't just the police who got him and his crew, but more on that later as well. But it was the FBI. It was the federal government who came after 6ix9ine and his lackeys. That's something that honestly doesn't happen. No, not that rappers don't get arrested. We all know that happens a lot, especially lately with YNW Melly and ASAP Rocky. Both were arrested, but for completely different reasons. But the federal government to come after him and others, that does sound pretty unique. Now, on one hand, it honestly does make sense that the FBI would do this because they are one of the many federal government groups who take an active role in bringing down organizations like the 9 Trey Blood. They view them as a major threat to the safety and security of not just the country, but the people themselves. And they're right. So if they got enough evidence, built up a case and such, and did a massive blanket arrest of the whole 9 Trey Bloods organization, nothing would be out of the ordinary, because that's what the FBI can do and has done in the past. But they didn't exactly do that. They went specifically after 6ix9ine and his crew. They didn't go after the main crew. They didn't go after the leaders. They didn't go after some of the hitters, if you will. They went after 6ix9ine, and that feels odd and very specific. Why it won't affect 6ix9ine. So we're going to bring up a very sensitive topic and talk about why this won't affect 6ix9ine. So as you all may know, Snoop Dogg has put nothing but dirt on 6ix9ine's name ever since he started snitching in court. Snoop Dogg has called him a rat and has tried to humiliate him on his social media.
Snitching, working with the government.
Suge Knight called Snoop Dogg a snitch himself, since in 1998 Snoop Dogg was jumped by a group of guys sent by his former record label Death Row Records. He then went to the police where he sang names to the cops and even brought up who took Tupac's life, but that's a whole topic for another video. Back to the point, Snoop Dogg was labeled a snitch over 20 years ago, but with time that label went away and he is still very well respected in the rap community. Would this also apply to 6ix9ine as well? Since Snoop Dogg snitching was forgotten, does that mean 6ix9ine still has a chance? And what do you think about Snoop Dogg snitching? snitching. Quite ironic, don't you think? Missing link or willing cog? Now, if you've ever watched television, with you obviously without a doubt have, you'll know that they often don't interpret things that happen in the real world, including how the FBI and other agencies do their business and the things that they need to do to make a case. So if you wanted to look at this objectively, you could easily say that the reasons they went after 6ix9ine and his immediate crew of the 9 Trey Bloods wasn't that 6ix9ine was in on it the whole time and he wanted them gone, but rather they saw a huge opportunity to play 6ix9ine like a pawn. The biggest reasons why many groups like the 9 Trey Bloods are still around, despite groups like the FBI being after them, is evidence. Sure, they cause a lot of noise and try to make sure they get illegal gains, but that doesn't mean they're stupid. The best group like the 9 Treys are very careful with how they do business because they don't want to be caught by the FBI in any fashion. The 9 Trey Bloods actively try to stay out of the spotlight to minimize their exposure to the government by covering their tracks and staying under the radar to keep their organization as profitable as possible. Going back to 6ix9ine, the FBI could have possibly seen that he was a weak link and thus the missing link in their chain that would allow them to at least partially take down the group. They wouldn't be wrong to have thought that since they were absolutely right. Thus they gathered evidence and that led to the massive bust that we all know about right now. All they had to do was follow the trail of 6ix9ine and see where it led them. And being as he is nowhere near as smart or as clever as the rest of the 9 Trey Bloods leaders, this is proven, trust me. The evidence would have been found and thus the bust could be made. But is it really that simple? Is it really as clear cut as them seeing an opportunity and just making the most of it? Or was the opportunity brought to them? Think about it from this perspective. What if 6ix9ine realized that things were going badly? That the 9 Trey Bloods weren't feeling his membership in the group anymore? If he knew that something bad could happen to him, he might have decided that he needed to take action into his own hands. And where do you go when that happens? The police. Usual. But for something like this, you go to the FBI, who just so happens to have a New York field office. All he would have to do to get their attention was say that he was willing to rat out the 9 Trey Blood, provide critical information on their inner workings, the hierarchy of their organization, and more. The FBI would have verified it to be sure. They wanted to make sure they weren't getting played. But once it was proven to be real, they would have had the last piece they needed to make things happen. And thus, the plan would be set to get the group that used to surround 6ix9ine and then slowly pick apart the 9 Trey Bloods. And a lot of it would have been done because of 6ix9ine and the information he willingly gave to the FBI. Of course, after hearing all this, you're no doubt wondering, why in the world would 6ix9ine do that?
I'm trying to be out. I'm trying to be out so I can take care of my kids, blood. Like, I made a lot of mistakes.
That is the question, right? Why would 6ix9ine betray just about everything he believed in? All the people who helped him get to where he is in the world today, and so on and so forth. Did he really not know what would happen? Did he not care? Did he just want to make sure he survived the encounters? What exactly drove him to be the guy that might have set this whole thing in motion? The answer is as simple as 6ix9ine is. It's about survival. Let's rewind a little bit, okay? Or in this case, let's rewind back to his childhood. 6ix9ine honestly wasn't a guy who had a good childhood, which is not uncommon for rappers, but that's another topic entirely. Anyway, he did what he had to do to survive, and eventually he realized that he wanted to go into the rap field, which was a fair dream to have. The only thing that he had to work on though was actually making it into the rap music as a whole. After all, it's not as simple as just making music and putting it on something like SoundCloud and hoping people will listen. Yes, people have gotten famous in rap and other genres by doing this, but it's not as numerous as you might expect compared to other ways of making it into the rap industry. You have to have people pushing you and giving you buzz and press. For 6ix9ine, because of his upbringing, he honestly didn't know anyone that could help him in this record, and that's a big problem because without a push, he would be hoping for luck to get him into the big dance, and that's a big risk no matter what way you look at it. So like 6ix9ine would later do in his career, he would take a shortcut, and he would go and join the 9 Trey Bloods. Granted, he wasn't a true member in certain rights, and he laid it out really clearly that he needed them to get street cred and to get a rap career off the ground, and in return, he'd help them and give them money from the deals he made and with his potential hit songs. They were more than happy to give the deal a try, and so 6ix9ine was brought into the fold and the work began. And to their credit, both sides of it, this was indeed a fruitful relationship. Despite his very controversial nature, 6ix9ine was making money. Before his arrest, he was valued at worth being around $1.5 million, which is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. And of course, a chunk of that money went to the 9 Trey Bloods so that they could fund their operations in New York and beyond. No real problem so far, yeah? Unfortunately for 6ix9ine, that didn't last long, because when it came to 6ix9ine, the idea of having fame in the rap world was nothing compared to actually having it. You ever heard of the phrase phrase being intoxicated by power? Well, that's an accurate way of describing what happened to 6ix9ine. He was so in love with being a rapper, specifically a tough rapper, having street cred and everything, that he started going off the cuff, doing his own thing, starting his own beef, trying to get the 9 Trey Bloods to do his bidding at times, like with Chief Keef and other incidents that were accounted for in his trial, and of course, getting into all sorts of trouble. Despite what you think, groups like the 9 Trey Bloods work hard to try and not get into visible trouble that can end you up in jail. 6ix9ine didn't care about that, which is proven because he got arrested a lot over the course of a few years, and each one put the 9 Trey Bloods at risk in various ways. Eventually, it became too much, and so they decided that they needed to teach 6ix9ine a lesson. Recordings from the FBI and from 6ix9ine's own accounts stated that the 9 Trey Bloods gave orders to certain members to try and set 6ix9ine straight, even if that meant getting aggressive. This even led to an attempted capturing incident, an event that just had the 2 members of the 9 Trey Bloods, Aljamiah Nuke Mack and Anthony Harv Ellison, who did it, get convicted by personally snitching them out to the judge in his trial last month in September.
Nuke and Harv were both found guilty of racketeering, with Harv catching a separate charge for kidnapping 6ix9ine in July 2018.
No doubt 6ix9ine was feeling the walls closing in on him. He didn't want to deal with the full wrath of the 9 Trey Bloods, so he decided to take care of them in his own way, by getting the FBI involved. I mean, guys, you tell me, if you had been cornered like that, would you have done something similar? Snitch or mastermind?
I got music that's still hot. Like, I gotta do what I gotta do.
Okay, so if we're going to continue this line of thinking, and it was 6ix9ine who went to the FBI and got them involved, the next question would be, what would he have to offer them? Well, that's actually the twist in this weird tale. He actually could get them just about anything they wanted to put certain people away. Remember, while he may not have been an official member in certain aspects, he was a 9 Trey Blood, and by that token, he himself had to do a variety of very evil things in order to prove his loyalty and all of that. And as the FBI knew, some of these acts had already been brought to light, and even to court, but certain instances had to be sent out or dismissed because of the lack of certain evidence and technicalities. But with 6ix9ine, they wouldn't have had that problem. He had all the evidence and testimony needed to put members away, including some members of a street crew that the 9 Trey Bloods gave him, one of which was his manager, Kefano Shoddy Jordan. It's very easy to think that 6ix9ine was just a snitch in the game and trying to save his own tail, but let's think bigger than that. What if he was the one who put all this into motion because it was his way of getting revenge on the 9 Trey Bloods for trying to screw him? We know that 6ix9ine can be vindictive and cruel. His past arrests, complaints, and behavior further prove that, so this definitely isn't too far beyond the scope. All he had to do was get the attention of the FBI, which would have been easy, give them the evidence and testimony that he could provide to put them away, which the FBI would have sought out and verified, and then set the stage for the big arrest, which he helped make even better by firing Shoddy and the rest of the street crew a mere 2 weeks before the arrest due to business reasons. That would have fired up the whole group and maybe even forced their hand even more to do certain illegal activities, which could have helped the FBI get more evidence against them. So as you can see, this plan may have been a multi-layered piece of brilliance, something that I wouldn't honestly say about 6ix9ine usually. So let's just say the FBI helped him make the plan, okay? Now obviously there is one problem with this whole plan, and I'm sure you're thinking about it. If it was his plan, why did 6ix9ine go to jail? Yeah, this may be confusing as to why 6ix9ine is in jail, because who wouldn't want to be free? But hear us out on this, okay? We actually have a reason for this. Usually, mainly in movies and TV shows, when a snitch comes forward, they're granted what is called immunity, meaning that no matter what they confess, no matter what they say or admit to do, they cannot be charged for these crimes as they are giving this information to put someone away or a group away. It's the snitch's ultimate tool, if you will. For 6ix9ine, it would have been very easy for him to ask for immunity in return for giving the FBI all the information they needed about the 9 Trey Bloods to take them down. However, the FBI likely wasn't as willing to help him out as he thought. Sure, they would have taken his info about the 9 Trey Bloods, but as I teased before, 6ix9ine has gotten in a lot of troubles with the law and has skated on just about every charge that has been put on him because of loopholes, technicalities, and very likely bribing witnesses. All this leads to the fact that the FBI wouldn't have offered immunity because they knew that 6ix9ine had done some terrible things beforehand, and with the 9 Trey Bloods, he needed to serve time, even if only a little. And here is the other twist in this tale. 6ix9ine would have been fine with that because in his mind, having street cred is everything, and nothing says street cred to a rapper more than jail time. Not to mention, 6ix9ine wouldn't want it to become public knowledge that he was the mastermind behind all of this, or at the very least a big partner. If he was just a snitch, he could fight that off in his own way. If you don't believe me, look at the various comments 6ix9ine has made since becoming a snitch. He truly doesn't care, and he has blasted just about everyone who has badmouthed him because of being a snitch, as he thinks they're jealous of him and the fame he's getting because of this event. Like I said, 6ix9ine is very simple-minded, but regardless, that wouldn't have fazed him in regards to being in prison. He would agree to take a slap on the wrist, in this case 13 months, and he'd get the official plea deal in prison to sell the charade, and then he'd go to work, unratting helping everyone out, which is exactly what he did. His street crew are basically all convicted and sentenced. The 9 Trey Bloods have the FBI narrowing down on them by the second, and 6ix9ine himself is getting ready to be released. So he got a little more jail time. So what? That just builds up hype for his return to rap music and makes him more of a legend in his own mind. And if he does pull this off, he'll be laughing all the way to the bank. The problem. Now let's say that this was all true and this intel was given out to the public. How would this affect Tekashi 6ix9ine? Well, that's a question for you to answer and something that only time will tell. But if we think of all the true possibilities that can go down, well, let's see. This can just add to the snitching label that 6ix9ine already has. And that isn't really the best thing for him in the situation that he's in. But then again, it may be easier for him to explain the situation he was in and clear the air by saying the only reason he worked with the FBI was because his manager and the 9 Treys were planning to set up 6ix9ine and really do some dirty things to him. So with that in mind, that can really change people's minds and make 6ix9ine look like a genius in illusions. And if that was really the case, I'm all for it. Think about it. He heard that his crew was stealing from him and plotting against him, so he got the FBI involved in secret, got everyone arrested without anyone suspecting he was behind it, and in return he gets his record cleared and a free pass from jail. The only catch is that he has to snitch publicly in court and get the label of a snitch, like I mentioned previously. But again, how much will that affect him in the long run? Well, realistically, not a lot, right? I mean, what do you guys think about this? That being said, there you have it, guys. A look at the potential links between the FBI and 6ix9ine that proves that this could have been planned well in advance of his arrest. But is this really what happened, or is this a stretch in every sense of the word and imagination? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe. Guys, this is your boy King Trending. I'll catch you next time in the next video. Thank you very much.
A simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We will be giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's really your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. Go for it.